Today we are going to look at some basic plane figures and their properties classified by their sides and angles. A rectangle is a four-sided figure with four right angles. The opposite sides are parallel, so we can write the segment AB is parallel to the segment CD. And the segment AC is parallel to the segment BD and have the same length. A square is actually a kind of rectangle because it also has four right angles. However, it has one additional property. Its four sides are all the same length. The opposite sides of a parallelogram are also parallel, like in a rectangle. But a parallelogram does not have four right angles, like a rectangle. Its opposite angles, in other words, the angles diagonally across from each other, have the same measure. And a parallelogram with four sides of equal length is called a rhombus. What about a trapezoid? A trapezoid has one pair of parallel sides. The measure of the angles and the lengths of the sides are not dictated in the definition. So this is a trapezoid, or this, and so on. These and all other four-sided plane figures have one important property in common. The sum of the measures of the interior angles is 360 degrees. Most of the time we use this fact to find a missing angle measure. Let's look at an example to practice that and look at the figure ABCD. Where the opposite sides are parallel. So we can write segment AB is parallel to segment DC and segment AD is parallel to segment BC. And this notation on the drawing tells us that the opposite sides are equal in measure. So with the knowledge that the opposite sides are parallel and that the opposite sides are equal in measure, we know that this is a parallelogram. Let's say angle C is 120 degrees. What is the measure of angle D? Now we use the fact what all four-sided plane figures have in common. The sum of the measures of the interior angles is 360 degrees. And since this is a parallelogram, we know that the opposite angles have the same measure. So we can write 360 degrees equals the sum of all angles. What angles do we have? Again, we use the fact that opposite angles in a parallelogram have the same measure. So we can write 2 times 120 degrees and 2 times angle D. We could also write angle B here instead of angle D because both have the same measure. After subtracting 2 times 120 degrees, which is 240 degrees, from 360 degrees, we get 120 degrees. And after dividing 120 degrees by 2, we get angle D equals 60 degrees. And we are done with this problem. So we used the one important property which all four-sided plane figures have in common. The sum of the measures of the interior angles is 360 degrees. We also used the fact that the opposite angles in a parallelogram have the same measure. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. This video is what I did for you. If you want to do something for me, hit the bell button, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching and happy learning, everyone.